Tour Junkies.
What's going on, golf addicts? Welcome to the 2024 Mexico Open at Vidanta 2024 DB here.
That was pretty good, DB.
Betting preview. You know, I got a little bit in there. That's a little.
Yeah.
You know,
Vidanta Viata.
for taking a few couple semesters in college. I barely remember a few things, but we're here. We're doing our thing. Let's talk about the Genesis first. We're gonna have a good show. We're gonna do a little thing at the top, a little different. Our producer Tony's been dipping his toes in the golf betting scene for the first time, really seriously. So we're going to kind of look at the first 7 weeks of producer Tony and how things have been going since he started to kind of dabble and see if there's
what a time to start.
Yeah, right.
Geez.
See if there's any reasonable advice we can give him, or maybe the people listening can give him. So we're going to get to that here in the beginning, do our season-long update, talk about our outright picks, our top 20 locks, and the six-pack of locks and bombs. And it's going to be a good time. But first, the Genesis. What a wild week. We had Tiger. Then we had no Tiger. And then we had Jordan. You had Jordan in the season-long bet, and he freaking DQ'd. Then Pat had the controversy on Twitter, the tweet about the scorecard thing, and everybody losing their mind on Twitter about that. Pat, do you want to kind of extend that tweet into an opening?
I mean, I didn't know you were going to go there, but I don't tweet a lot, obviously, but that one, I had a feeling. I was like, this is gonna get some interaction.
And I will say, I wish you would. I think now you have to start signing your tweets, because I don't want to get lumped into your harebrained ideas at times.
I do.
No, you don't. You used to, and now you don't.
Well, why don't you have to sign your tweets?
Because I'm always tweeting. Like you're
I'm pretty sure you agreed with me.
I think two things are true. I do agree with you. It's not that hard. It's part of the game. Our friend caddy Joe Etter made a controversial post out there as well. Like, there's so many things that.
You retweeted that. I didn't retweet
that.
You did.
And also, Solly at No Laying Up had a really well thought out tweet about this when he talked about, like, are we seriously, like, we want to rely on the ShotLink volunteers and the walking scorers who do this once a year? Like, these guys have to keep up with their own score. I do agree with that. However, it does feel antiquated. It feels like with every, we got AI making a video. You can type in a command and have AI have a squirrel playing chess against a dolphin. You could do all kind of, and it looks real. And you look at it, you think it's real. You could have AI go on a date with your sister, but we can't figure out a better way to keep scores on a golf course. That's my only. So I do feel that tension. But overall, if you're going to make me land on a side, I agree with you.
Well, thank you. But also, you kind of fell into the trap that you talk about. It's Twitter, right? Or X.
Yeah.
You can say anything out there, but you also got to read a little bit between the lines. I never said I didn't think it was a antiquated system, or that. I mean, I also agreed the punishment doesn't necessarily fit the crime. I don't think you should.
That I agree with.
You shouldn't get DQ'd for that.
Yeah.
But my tweet really was just about the fact that, it's numbers, and that's the rules that they play under. They know this. They do this every single week that they play on the tour. I mean, it's not like I just don't think that there's any reason to go crazy about it, and it doesn't happen all the time. It does not happen all the time. And most players kind of would tell you the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, it rarely happens.
It is antiquated, and I don't think that the punishment fits the crime. So,
yeah, I just feel like it should be a stroke or two penalty. I mean, you can take an illegal, bogus, like intentionally cheating drop on the course, and you get a 2-shot penalty. You accidentally put down the wrong score, and rush out of the scorer's tent, because you got the green apple 2-step from the In-N-Out burger that hit Tiger, and you lose the whole tournament when you're up there. Like, but then again, like, Golby, our blind squirrel, looking for a nut, is named after Bob Golby.
Yeah.
The Masters, due to an incorrect scorecard by Roberto DiVincenzo. Fun fact. Little Tour Junkies trivia for you there. Anyway, it was a wild week. And then yesterday, Hideki shoots a 62 and said he didn't have his best stuff, which is just classic Hideki. God, I love him. One-handed finishes to 8 inches, throwing darts on the back nine late on Sunday and just passing everybody. There was a minute there where you thought Willie Z was going to get it done. Early in the day, it looked like Luke List couldn't miss. Of course, the disgusting bros, Patrick and Xander, just out betaing each other, trying to see who's got the shortest little wiener on a Sunday out there. God dang, they were so miserable to watch. So miserable. At one point, Jim Nantz was like, these two just really didn't feed off each other today. I'm like, yeah, they did. They totally fed off. They were just, oh, you're beta. I can be more beta than you on a Sunday. And no, I can be more beta. They were just awful. Terrible. Those guys suck. I'm so tired of those guys. They're not winning golf tournaments. And if they do, they will be meaningless, weak field, pissant tournaments. Those two, I don't know why you would waste any money firing on an outright on those two. Forget them. Screw them.
I mean, I can't disagree after what I saw yesterday. I mean, it was, and neither of them were on our cards either, but neither was Hideki. We both have been, kind of on the Hideki train, and I had him at the Farmers on the card, and I don't know why I didn't have. I actually had him as a top 20 last week as one of our locks. So
yeah, we liked him. He just didn't end up on the card.
Yeah.
It was fun to watch. I love watching Genesis. You know what's interesting? Yesterday, my wife and my daughter and our new puppy, because our life can't get any more crazy right now.
Mhm.
We're all in the same room with me. And I had the golf tournament on. And for the first time, my almost 9-year-old daughter goes, "Daddy, what course is that?" And I said, "That's Riviera. That's a really nice course, isn't it?" She goes, "Yeah, it's pretty. It's really cool." She'd never said that before. I just love that golf course. I love the trees. If you're like a Southern guy like us and you're just, you're not used to seeing a eucalyptus tree or whatever that other tree is. It doesn't have any leaves on it or anything. That's like kind of grayish looking. If you're just not used to that and like the scenery there, it's just a beautiful place on TV. I love watching Riviera.
Yeah, I agree. It is a fantastic golf course, and obviously a lot of those players love to play there. So, and look, it gave us, I guess, somewhat of an exciting finish, although once
I think it
Hideki
was.
just kind of like went on past the others. I mean, it was because everybody was like going to give Cantlay the win. I mean,
I
even think when you did your course preview, which I listened to, great course preview, DB, for Mexico, you even were kind of like, it's a crap show, and because you were recording on Saturday. And, I know a lot of that was because of Tiger and Jordan, but also like Cantlay had a 5-shot lead. So we were all thinking like, all right, the tournament's over. And it was not. So.
No, not with that guy. He's got to get out to a 10-shot lead to be able to close one on Sunday. Yeah, you're right. I guess the very end was kind of a big flaccid downer because Hideki finishes and you're just like, oh well, we need Will to eagle 17. We need a birdie 16 or eagle 17. And when that doesn't happen, you're like, yeah, okay, this is over. And it is kind of awkward when that doesn't happen. And then we had to keep watching. God, I wish they would have just turned the whole thing. Can we just start interviewing Hideki when we know that Zalatoris is out of it? Because having to watch Xander and Cantlay finish was like freaking worst.
I didn't even watch it. At that point, I was just like, all right, I'm done.
Well, I was a little interested in a Hideki interview. Like, I just want to hear what Hideki says, which I'm glad I waited because that's when he says, I didn't really have my best stuff. 62. But we brought back the LASIK for Hideki tweet from 2017. I fired that bad boy up when we figured that the reason he was letting go of all of his clubs and hitting the ball great, still very close to the hole, was because he couldn't see. It was fun to watch Hideki surge. That was the best Sunday we've had, to me, in 2024 on the PGA Tour.
I agree. And, back to the course really does lend itself to that with just how the holes out there. There's par 5s that you can score on. There's 10, which is a, drivable par 4 that will just absolutely kick their ass. Very hard par 3s. So the course, the whole thing just lends itself to really good action out there, and good on Hideki. I was glad to see him win. I'm a big Hideki fan. So.
I love Hideki.
And, we have seen people who play well at Riviera play well in Augusta.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a little bit of correlation there. So maybe we need to have our eye on Hideki a little bit, and Willie Z as we head into Augusta here, which is not that far away. Okay.
You know, we had a chat, our Wednesday night Discord chat we had with our friend Kenny McAndress, and you guys were both pretty big on Willie Z, and I kind of crapped on it a little bit. I had to have a take, and I had a take. You know, I feel like with Willie Z to bet him outright, I wanted to see a little more. I wanted to see like peak Willie Z coming a little bit because even though he had a good finish, we weren't seeing the irons like super sharp yet with Zalatoris. And but boy, you know, I mean, like he gained 6.2 strokes on approach according to the live data from Bet the Number. He looks like he's definitely kind of here again, and the putter looks better. So be on the lookout for Willie Z in the future for sure. Luke List gaining strokes putting was banana land. We'll see how that goes. Before we move on, though, the Discord crushed the props game this week. This is a new thing. This is new, people. Because if you've been in the Tour Junkies Discord or the Tour Junkies environment, we've never really done a whole lot on like live props on the sports books. We've done prize picks, we've done underdog, we hammer those, which by the way, DB had a solid week on that. Again, I don't know if you saw that. I gave a little 3-for-3 banger on round 2, I believe. I went 5-2 or 5-1-2 on the first 2 rounds. Dished out a couple winning prop bets. And then when Bet the Number got involved and started doing some back end research for us, and we're dropping all of that in the Discord, some of that on the Bet the Number Twitter, and people started cashing bets left and right on the weekend, that is going to be a quite regular occurrence. So if you're not already subscribed to Bet the Number, you should be. Check it out. They're developing some incredible live stats and live information, and they're leaning into that live prop side. And updates are coming. They pushed another update this weekend to improve the live scoring, so you can now drop down, see scorecards, all the live metrics, as much live metrics as anybody out there has or anybody's showing. And you can see the raw values and how they rank for the field. You can break it down round by round or total. And we crushed the props game with some closest to the pin, some long drive props on FanDuel. It was a lot of fun to chase that and sweat it live. I know our Discord hit a few. Kenny McAndress's Mooney Gang Discord was banana land, thanking the Tour Junkies and BTN and Kenny as well. Kenny's great at sniffing out those live bets. So if you're not checking any of that out, you're missing out. So link in the description for Bet the Number. Code TJ gets you $5 off monthly and $50 off of an annual membership. But if you are a paying member in the Discord, send us a DM. Send me a DM. Send Pat a DM. And we will give you a one-time unique code that you can cash in for an annual membership at a deep discount. In fact, it's the deepest discount Bet the Number is offering anywhere. Our boy Byron, Spaz, crushing the showdown plays, crushing the live plays as well. Everybody cleaned house. The live action stuff, especially with BTN in our arsenal and our developers back there doing a lot of that back-end research on what's going on with the golf course, that is going to crush for the rest of this season, and I'm very pumped about it.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great to see it. Love when you get all these people riding these bets too, and just everything starts popping off.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So, looking forward to more of that the rest of the season.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Mexico. I want to talk about Tony. Let's bring Tony up here. Tony and Tony can kind of open up with, you know, his golf betting prowess prior to 2024. And what you've been dabbling in, and maybe this will be helpful for a new bettor, or maybe just a good refresher for somebody else.
Yeah, obviously with betting taking off over the last few years, 4 or 5 years now, with it just being slowly getting into more and more cities, towns, states, all of that kind of stuff. I've kind of dabbled in it a little bit over the last couple years. Nothing really too serious, just kind of the majors, looking at something, whatever it may be. But joining in with you guys over this last year or so, and then especially at the start of 2024, I've been keeping track of my bets for the year so far. Now, obviously, we've had kind of as you guys have said, weird start, unusual start with so many kind of long shots hitting. So I wanted to just get some tips from you guys as far as what would be some good strategy as far as what I'm doing. Basically, when I look at it, I kind of try to go by a little bit of our rundown with what we do with a favorite, mid-range, long range, and then maybe a bomb or two. I'm just doing straight outrights. No, not necessarily no. I've dabbled a little bit in the live betting aspect, which I was pumped for our boy Kenny last week with Waste Management, and I think I was more excited about that with seeing what he had rolling going into that final round and that sweat, that I threw a little bit of money on that in the fourth round just to kind of give myself a sweat,
Oh, nice.
but was more so just pumped for him, and wanted to see that come through for him. So yeah, I'll just go over kind of my strategy, and then you guys can nitpick that a little bit, and then maybe give me some tips as far as what to do better, what I couldn't do. Somebody just trying to learn the aspect of the betting side. So no unit shaming here. We don't shame
No, no,
my small
not
units.
at all. Unit shaming.
So a unit for me is about $10.
Your unit is welcome here, Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah. All units
I'm gonna
matter.
put my unit. I'm gonna put my unit in a warm place, a warm, welcoming place.
Of course. Why wouldn't you?
So like I said, I've just been throwing pretty much a unit on an outright. I'll do 3, maybe 4 per tournament. Nothing really live betting, no first round leader bets, no matchups, anything like that. It's pretty much just I'll look at an outright going into it, throw a little bit of that action on there, and then just watch the tournament. So strategy for that going into the tournament, I really like, kind of like Pat. Past performance is really the main thing that I've been looking at. So getting a little bit more familiar with BTN, using some of the models. Never done a custom model, don't really have any experience or anything like that doing that. So told you guys before, Bet the Number has really helped me just because it's a little bit easier to just see everything, and it's laid out really well. And it just helps me just initially from a visual standpoint, just understand everything. It's really laid out easy like that. So, yeah, like what advice would you guys give me as a newer bettor with some of that? Maybe sprinkle a little more on some matchups, some first round leader bets, maybe wait with some of the live betting like we had at AT&T a couple weeks ago with the weather there. You guys said it wasn't really a great opportunity there to just fire on some outrights pre-tournament. Just give me a little bit of the nitpick of the strategy.
Well, I think for one, like you're, you talking about like throwing the live bet on there with Kenny just for fun. Like that's what we're doing. Like we do this for fun. We're not doing this to make a living. We're not doing this to, feed our families. So we definitely want to throw that out there. You should gamble money that you can totally afford to lose. And golf has a ton of variance. There's a ton of, just like regular golf, guys lose more weeks than they win. And it usually works out that way in betting on golf too. It's just when you win, you tend to win large, especially if you're betting outrights only or exclusively. So I think that's important. And you talked about how you've never really dabbled into the model thing, and that's what I love about BTN is like a lot of these other sites, you have to come up with a model, whereas BTN puts one out there for you, and it's a pretty highly informed model. So if you wanted to, you could just go off of the BTN model every single week and not have to worry about building your own, which I think is pretty cool. I think there's a couple things first that you have to get established before you really kind of figure out what you're going to bet on. And the first is like your bankroll. So what is your bankroll? And for me, I pretty much exclusively bet on golf. I will dabble in the NFL stuff. I don't bet on college sports other than maybe occasional basketball of March Madness, but I'm pretty exclusively golf. And I think the rule of thumb or smart people smarter than me tend to say that your weekly output in golf could be anywhere from 2 to 3% of your total bankroll. And that's kind of your weekly allotment, right? So however many units that makes up, that 2 to 3%, that's what you say weekly I'm going to use. Now, I may pull back from that if it's a week like Pebble where we kind of said, this is looking like it could have a ton of variance, blah, blah, blah. You may pull back, or there may be weeks where you just feel like you have a really good handle on it, a good edge. You feel strongly about it, or you're going to the tournament and you want to spend a little extra. So maybe you bump that up a touch. But for the most part, you stay disciplined in that 2 to 3% range. This is what I'm going to spend every week. From there, I think it just kind of depends on your appetite. Like some people only betting outrights, you're going to lose a lot. You're going to have most weeks you're going to lose. You're trying to hit an outright to win probably 6 to 7x the units that you put out every week. So you got to hit every, 6, 7 weeks to kind of keep up, right? Which so far we're not doing. But
Yeah.
so I do think to me personally, my opinion is the better approach would be to have a little balance in the out of that 2 to 3% of your bankroll, to have a certain allotment of that being outrights, if that's what you like to do, whether it's pre-tournament and live. You could kind of save something for the live. But I think the finish position bets those are my favorite other than the outrights. I mean, I think the finish position bets are just a lot of fun because you can still get plenty of plus money value. Which if you're used to betting the NFL or NBA or baseball, like you're not getting you got those guys freak out over a plus 120 bet, right? Like a plus 120 bet top 20 in most golf tournaments feels like a lock. And so I love the finish position bets. A lot of people love the matchups or three balls. I've not really had that kind of success. So I think as you learn, you figure out what you tend to have a good feel for, what you don't. I don't do too well in the matchups and three balls. So I kind of just stick to outrights, finish position bets. And now I'm about to, we're about to really eat on these live props. Pat, what do you have to say? Or what do you have to add there?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with a lot of what you said. I mean, I think for me, it would be, I like to see wins, right? I mean, wins are fun to look at and to, to see your bankroll grow a little bit. And you're going to find that in your top 20s and top 40s and those kind of bets. I mean, that's just the smartest way to go to bet about it. Doing outrights is certainly difficult, and you're not going to see those wins all the time. Now they're fun. I still think you always sprinkle on the outrights for sure. And eventually they'll hit for sure. I mean, we've just had a weird start to the year. So, so for me, I think you kind of stay in that range to just try to, see some wins, build the bankroll up a little bit. I do like the live betting, usually after like round 2. I think the matchups to me are fun, but I would rather do a round matchup than like a tournament matchup. Like I don't want to wait a whole tournament to see what happens between two players. Like I want to see what happens that day. So I like the round matchups a little bit better. But and a lot of the information that we get on BTN now, especially with the live odds or the live stats and everything, will help with those type things. So I think those are some things to look at, but for me, it is the finish bets. I think that's the best way to go to see those victories.
And I did. So the Super Bowl week was the first time that I really threw not threw some action down, but I had a winning week.
Nice.
And that was for the Super Bowl specifically. I think I had 5 bets on the game, and then a couple props and whatnot. I went 4-1, and I think that really has like scratched the itch of, okay, let me adjust, let me see what I'm doing with the golf market, and trying to, I guess, capture and chase that same feeling there. So yeah. That's cool. That's good advice, guys. I appreciate it.
There's definitely nothing like hitting a big outright in golf. Like it's fun to hit. I had a blast sweating Neiman the other week in the, with the freaking penalty at Live. He had that 2-shot penalty, and then we shot the 59 round 1, and the 2-shot penalty after round 2, and then back and forth in round 3, and then the playoff in the dark. That was fun. But he was like 12-1. Now I was still betting it to win 40 units, I think, just like every other bet. But and that's the other thing I think is important to mention. If you're firing on outrights and you have 5 outrights at different numbers, your goal should be to spend each one should be to win 6 to 7x at least for each bet, and so you're betting accordingly. So it doesn't make any sense to put more units on the guy at 100-1 than the guy at 20-1, right? That doesn't make any sense. So you're going to put proportionate units on each guy, but even though hitting a 100-1 guy for me or a 20-1 guy for me is going to result in the same win, it is a lot of fun when you have a triple digit bomb that is going off and you're like, oh, could this happen? That is a blast when you have that first little rush there. That I don't know if it's dopamine or what it is, but it's boner fuel for me. If you're a big golf fan, when you have that thing hit for the first time, dang, like you're just gonna love it. But so that's good stuff, Tony. We're going to keep tracking Tony's progress. I think this is helpful for a lot of people. So we'll keep doing that. Keep it up, Tony.
So that's what I had last week too. So that the very first week, I think Century, I had actually your boy there, DB Xander. He was up in the top 5, top 10 on that final day, and that was kind of like a little bit of the scratch. Like, okay, this is pretty cool. Let's see if he can do this. Kind of
Yeah.
my first experience with the sweats and whatnot. So
Yeah.
obviously he didn't pull that out. And then learning some of those kind of just techniques with it, like you said, you're looking to 6, 7 times your bet. So that's what I did this past week at Riviera. I had JT at 16-1 that I had a full unit on, and then Tony Finau at 33-1. I just put a half,
Yep.
and then Sunjay at 80-1. I put a half too, and even just entering those in and seeing what the odds were, and possible payout, all that kind of stuff. That gave me the oh, okay, let me split this up a little bit more instead of just here's 1 unit, 1 unit, 1 unit. So
yep. Yeah, and then another tip is never bet Xander to win anymore. He should.
Yeah, there we go.
And I guess one other thing I'll say is if you can shop and if you can have more than one book, it definitely makes sense to have more than one book and obviously know their rules, especially when we come to finish position bets. We talk about that a lot on our shows and in the Discord. Knowing that like BetMGM doesn't have dead heat rules, so they pay out in full for ties. That's a big advantage because you will get bit by the tie situation when you're betting finish positions at a top 20 and 6 guys are tied for 20th, and then your bet gets chopped on DK or FanDuel or something. So it is have more books if you can do it. So I think that would be the last thing. Cool.
So that's one thing. I'm in Texas, and I'll let you guys go here. I'm taking up too much of the time, but I am in Texas, which if and when sports betting becomes legal here, I'll be able to do that a little bit more. But maybe that's something in our Discord comments, whatever it is, drop it in as far as shopping. But I think that's good right now, where I can learn a little bit of that stuff, learn some of these, the dead heat rule, some of this stuff that. Coming into it, I had zero idea what that even meant at all.
Yeah.
So learning that stuff before actually, I'll be able to dive into that fully.
Yep. Good stuff. Thank you, Tony. Do we have an update on the season-long bet? So I had you had Jordan Spieth, who got freaking zero. That's your second. Is that your second week in a row with $0?
Yeah, second with $0.
I had Cam Young, who I think was 16th.
Yeah, he was okay.
I mean, it's a big, huge purse. So anyway, God dang it. I mean, a 16th isn't killing, 16th to even to your 0 is not killing me by any means, but
it just increases my lead.
It does increase your lead. All right, let's get to the season long bet this week. Tony, who's going first for Mexico? Is it me? Tony, chat us. Who's first? We'll go with me. How about we go with me?
I think it is you.
You be first. Okay, good. Because I only have one name. I only have one name. And I think it's a little scary. And again, remember for the people, this is a fade for a player at 30-1 or shorter. There's some names in here. A lot of names in here I think are interesting. I don't love betting them at these numbers, but this is what you get in this field. This is what we've been used to seeing at the Mexico Open for the last 2 years. But the one that ranks the worst in DB's model on Bet the Number, and this will be his 5th week in a row playing. And I'm wondering, is he here because he's got this is the Mexico Open, and I think he's from Argentina, and I know those are 2 different places, but he wants to go and play in front of a crowd that's going to be welcoming. Emiliano Grillo at 25. What is he, 25 now or 30? 20. Sorry, he's 20-1. Emiliano Grillo is the pick for me. He's got the lowest ball speed on this in this range, which I'm big ball speed. Big DB's big balls ball speed this week for me. You got to be able to hit it here at Vidanta. He is 101st in this field. Now that hasn't kept him from, he finished T5 here last year. I understand. But it's a combination of that. It's a combination of 5th week in a row. Starting to fade, maybe. We know a lot of tour pros don't like playing even 4 weeks in a row. So I'm going to go Emiliano Grillo and cross my fingers.
Okay. That is a little bit ballsy. I don't know if I could do that, but I can appreciate it. I'm going to go with the
ballsy here, actually. I mean, I think these there's not that many options. So
there's
I think
really not. I agree. I had one guy written down, but then he kind of looks like he's averaged out of the 30-1 range. I'm going to go with a guy that I never can get right anyway, and I like him, but I just don't know if this is going to be, even though he does have the ball speed, but Ryan Fox at 30-1. I'll go with Fox.
Right. Wait a minute. He's 35 right now.
I'm looking at BTN. He's 30-1.
I am too.
I'm looking at.
Maybe I need to refresh. Maybe shorten.
Hang on. I'm looking at FanDuel. He's 30-1.
I've already given you. I've given you some.
You're not going to give me this. You're not going to give me the short.
I've already given you at least one of these, maybe two of these this year. But see, then I feel like
it's up to you.
I see him now. I had to refresh BTN. Then I feel like as soon as I do that, as soon as I don't give him to you, he's gonna pop off. Wait a minute.
I mean, it's
no, he's gonna suck. As soon as I don't give him to you, he's gonna suck. And I'm like, dang it, I should have just given him to you.
I have backup plans, but
I'm gonna give him to you. I don't want to second guess him. I don't want to be mad. I don't want to then be mad at myself. If he plays well, I'll be mad at just you.
I mean, you went first. You could have taken him.
I didn't see it. I hadn't refreshed my screen, so I still saw him at 35-1. All right. So Pat's fading Fox. I'm fading Grillo. Here we go, boys. At the top, what are you thinking, Pat? Anybody you like here? I mean, in the last 2 years, let me say this, actually. Let me do this or drop this in here real quick. If you do want a full course breakdown, I did a deep dive on the last 2 years here at Vidanta that they've played this golf course. It's all on the YouTube channel and the podcast. Go check it out. It's about 25 minutes. And I dropped a ton of things in the Discord about the last 2 years here. But I want to say one thing about the last 2 years here. In 2023, 8 of the 14 players who finished tied for 10th or better averaged 175 mile an hour ball speed or greater. That was in 2023. In 2022, 8 of the 10 players who finished top 10 averaged 175 mile an hour ball speed. So 16 of 24 total players that have finished in the top 10 over the last 2 years have hit it a long way. I think that's something you got to do. Now, I also noticed that, kind of form coming into this thing. If you go back, which I love doing this on BTN, if you go back and look at the previous leaderboards and you can see their incoming form and incoming course history, form is everywhere. If you look at the leaderboards the last 2 years, like guys don't have to be in great form to play well here at all. And there were guys who played well here that hadn't even played in the few weeks leading up to it. So I think it's going to be one of those weeks where fit matters, being able to bomb it, a lot of long irons, mid irons here. And then you got to be comfy on this slow pass pattern. So for that reason, how excited are you to take any of these short numbers? I mean, we've seen obviously the favorites win here. I think Rahm won at like 5-1 and Finau won at like 12 or 14-1, something like that.
Yeah.
No Rahm, but we do have Finau. He can't putt for crap. But what are you doing at the top?
I mean, I do like Højgaard at the top at 16-1. I think that's probably the best number you'll see him at. A guy that does have the ball speed, great putter, checking the box on approach. I think Højgaard, if you're going to go up top, I think he's the one that I want to go to. I would avoid Finau. And then I like Pendrith. I like Pendrith at 22-1 in that range. He's actually number 1 in the BTN model. Definitely has the ball speed. Another, when you look at his putting stats, He checks the box there. Approach around the green, had the top 10 at the Farmers. That's the last time I've seen that he's played. Top 30 here last year. So I like Pendrith, and I'll go up top to Højgaard here in this range.
Yeah, Højgaard's enticing. I do have Pendrith. I have Pendrith and Mitchell both at 30-1. I mean, Keith's not played here before, but I don't think that matters either. This is not a hard golf course to figure out.
Mitchell was the other one I was actually going to fade, but I'm seeing him now falling out of that 30-1 range. And so if you like him, then go ahead and get him at 35-1, which is what I think he's at on FanDuel now.
Then I like that. I like Pendrith and Mitchell. I'll take those two. I do feel like this is the kind of field where we could finally see Jaeger win, but I'm not willing. I don't care. Like if he wins and I miss it at 25, I don't really care. I do find it interesting because I had FanDuel pulled up for the top 20s. FanDuel has a winner without market on Griot, Højgaard, and Finau, and that is enticing. That is actually very enticing.
Absolutely.
Because we've seen these favorites dominate here. Now, I do think that's kind of weird. It's only a 2-year sample size, right? Like, if you had not told me anything about the last 2 years and you just gave me this field, I would probably look at this and go, oh, this is a recipe for a long shot to me, where like form doesn't really matter. Just hit it a mile and figure it out. Slow past Palom greens, not a tough place to dissect in terms of the golf course. So I'm probably going to lean bombs here, but that winner without market is fun on FanDuel.
Did you mention, sorry if I tuned out, DB. Did you mention anything about how the weather was going to be this week?
I did not know. I haven't even looked at it, honestly. I should have, but I have not.
Because I think that certainly will.
Have you looked at it? Is it weird?
I have not. That's why I asked you. I haven't looked at it. So.
Okay.
Maybe producer Tony can look at it and
I can get it here real quick. Let's take a peek just because I think that's obviously important. We haven't looked at that. Let's see. Thursday looks perfect. Friday perfect. Saturday perfect. Sunday perfect. No wind. Temps in the 70s and 80s.
So very similar to what we've had there. So
yep.
Okay. Good.
Well, let's fire away.
All right.
Let's move on to the next range. Before we do, I want to thank our friends at SoBet. Listen, another thing I didn't even talk about. I did a whole SoBet Tiger Woods round 1 prop. I put that out on SoBet, I think on Wednesday afternoon or Wednesday morning or something, and hit a plus 550, a plus 100, little even money hit there on Tiger. We had a great time with the exclusive Tiger bets on SoBet. I'm dropping some exclusive plays every single week on SoBet, along with 60 other handicappers, all vetted by SoBet. You can click the link in the description, join code TJ Trial. You can get your first month for free, see how you like it, get to try it out a little bit. That's fun. But vetted handicappers in every sport that know what they're doing, that give you reasons behind their plays, logic behind their plays, unit allocations for their plays. They will recap it when they suck. They'll recap it when they hit. Way better than following a bunch of handicappers on Twitter. So there you go. Try out SoBet. Let's move on up to the 75-1 range, Pat. And the first name we got to talk about is Jake Knapp.
Yes.
Jake Knapp what is he now? I saw him at 45 earlier. Now he's at 35. Now this could be a total case of just heartthrob. Everybody's heart throbbing. It could have been you.
Whoa. Are you trying to tell me that there's other people that are, that love him besides me? I mean, because, we have a relationship.
You do.
So, budding relationship that happens on the range.
This is my thing with Knapp. I'm very excited about Jake Knapp. So this is probably going to be a TJ squad ride. We got to be there for the first Jake Knapp win. I don't want to miss it. And 35, 40-1, worth a sprinkle. But when you look at names like EVR at 40-1, who's won twice on the PGA Tour, Cam Champ at 50-1, who has 2 top 10 finishes here, and both of them he came in looking like dog water. He sucked coming into both of those years at Mexico. He's a great example. He had miscuts and T67s coming out his butt. The last 2 years here, shows up, gains a ton of strokes off the tee because he hits at 189 miles an hour, and finishes top 10. Cam Champ's 50-1. He's won, 2 or 3 times on the PGA Tour? So when you have proven PGA Tour winners and closers longer than Jake Knapp, it just depends on how many units you've got to toss around. And do you have enough in this range to me? Because those 2 names, EVR and Champ, I think are interesting.
Yeah, I do like EVR. I have him written down at 40-1. Here's the thing. I think Jake Knapp, I have him written down at 40-1 where I like him. You can actually, I still see him at 40-1 over on BetMGM, but he is the one that is really steaming up. And then also Davis Thompson. I mean, when I first started looking at Davis Thompson, he was at 45-1. I think he's down to 40-1 on BetMGM, and he's even less on FanDuel now. He's at 33-1 on FanDuel. So those are the 2 of the guys that I wrote down that I like, but I think you got to jump on them early because they're starting to really, steam up there. So, but I was with you on EVR, and he has kind of stayed steady, I feel like. So I think you can certainly get a good number on him. A guy that I don't think really fits the mold too much like maybe from a ball speed, angle, but the way Hubs is playing right now
Yeah.
is so good. I think that he's just got it dialed in on all parts of his game, and he's around 55 or 60 to 1. I think he still plays some Hubs in that range too.
Yeah, I could get down with that. I think I prefer EVR champ. Davis Thompson was another one I was going to mention. And maybe we ride with Jake Knapp. We just got a squad ride Jake Knapp.
Yeah.
The thing about EVR, there's one thing about EVR, and I'm gonna tease. This is called a tease in the business, Pat.
Okay.
There is a key stat, and it's a kind of a weird one, but from the people behind the scenes, there is one thing that at least on some of the more difficult holes at Vidanta, you cannot do. And they have factored that stat into the BTN model. It's a small percentage, but it's something to look at. And in that particular stat, EVR is awful in that. So hopefully, maybe it's just a small sample size for him in that range. But we can't do that. Maybe we'll text him. I might text. I might be like, hey,
I feel like I could have. Yeah, I feel like I would have passed the test because I would have known the answer to what you were talking about.
Look at you, bud. Can you believe it? Had you told 2016 Pat Perry that you'd be talking about ball speed and models and all this stuff? God, I love it. You're
you remember when we had the stats guy? I know we need to move here, but when we had the stats guy on, and it was just like a complete argument the whole time.
Yes, yeah, that was
like way back. Anyway.
All right, let's move on to some bombs up to 125 to 1. I got a few in here. I really like our guy Sam Stevens at 90, who we just saw come close. Now he had a horrible Sunday. I can't even remember what tournament that was. It was a terrible Sunday, but checks a box off the tee, checks a box in ball speed, birdie or better percentage is solid. Long iron play has been a little sus lately, but I think it's something that he's traditionally been good at. So I think Sam Stevens at 90 is fun. I think that's a fun one. A guy that I've liked really for a long time, and he would be the equivalent to your whoever it was you just said, I can't remember, who doesn't really check the ball speed.
Oh, Hubbard.
Yeah. He doesn't check the ball speed box. He's pretty slow off the tee, but he makes up for it because the long irons are top 15 in this field. The iron play is fantastic. He checks the box in that one mysterious BTN stat I just talked about, and he's played well at Vidanta in one attempt, finished T15, and he's 100 to 1 Carson Young. I like Carson Young. And then my last bet in this range is going to be the first time for this guy. I've never done this. This is my first time doing a Cootie brother. First time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I'm gonna go ahead and taste a little bit of that Cootie. Hasn't played here, but doesn't matter. He's 110 to 1. T25 at Torrey Pines, another golf course where you got to hit it far. You got to have good long iron play. Checks those boxes. The irons have been pretty solid his last two events. We know he's a winner on the Korn Ferry Tour. So Parker Cootie, not Pearson, Parker at 110 to 1. Those are my three.
Yeah, I like. I don't mind that. I thought about one of the Cooties there too. I like Carson Young. He was one I also had written down. I think he, another guy you mentioned is shortened up a little bit. And now I can't remember who that was, but anyway, I do like Carson Young.
Stevens, Carson Young.
Parker. Yeah, Stevens is getting it seems to be getting a little bit. Yeah, he is. I think I even saw him as short as 65 to 1 on the VTN site, but I think that may be it for me. Really, I don't really. I sort of just I like this shorter than 70 to 1 range, so I don't really have. I only have one more, and that's a long shot over at 150 to 1. And that's Andrew Novak.
Oh,
I like Novak,
huh? All right, dang, you're just gonna skip right to it. All right, well, I have two bombs. I kind of like these 100 to 1 guys. I got to go with Vince Whaley again, just because he's my guy. 130 to 1, hits it far. Irons were pretty solid to start the year, and now they've dipped. Good putter. It's slow past palm, so God knows. I mean, the slow past palm is going to make bad putters and good putters look more similar. Spider-Man gif, but I do like Vince. 130 to 1, and then I'm going with the Panda. Panda watch.
Oh, okay.
Norman Zhang, baby. 150 to 1. Long Dong Zhang hits it a mile. We know he can score in these birdie fest. I'm pretty sure he had some good coastal success on the Korn Ferry Tour. Some would say he's a coastal elite. I'm saying, some would say that. I'm going with the Panda, coastal elite Norman Zhang, 150-1, Bomb Town. Before we get to our top 26 pack, I want to thank our friends at Swannies for hooking us up. By the way, they released a new video on Instagram the other day with some sweet new gear coming. They were taking photos. Can't wait. We just put in a Swannies order. Producer Tony's got some Swannies on the way. I'm excited about that. Code TJ25 gets you 25% off your entire order, and you can use it over and over again. Pat's got the sweet Swannies polo on. They got stuff for you. They got stuff for your spouse. They got stuff for your kids. It's beautiful, man. They got great accessories, cool hats. I went with some Pat. The order I just put in, I went with some Chasing Pars merch, which I love that.
Yeah,
because pars, I'm happy. I'm very happy with pars. So if you're happy with a par, try some Chasing Pars gear. That might help you out. Swannies.co is the link. You can click it in the description. Scan the QR code on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. Give them some love. By the way, before we get to the top 20s, hit the like button, subscribe, and comment on the YouTube channel. If you have any other advice for producer Tony or something that you like to stick to, drop that comment. Or anything you suggest should be clipped from today's show, which I would imagine the chat is going to say that what I just said about the cootie guy is going to be clipped. So
clip it.
All right, top 20 locks and a bomb. 2 locks shorter than what do we say? Short or two locks and then 1 bomb longer than 4-1. Pat, who are your locks?
Well, I'm going to go up at the top here with Pendrith at plus 125. And then I will go to Davis Thompson, who when I was looking at this before the show, he was plus 210. He is now plus 180. So that is also shortening. But I'll still go with Davis Thompson at plus 180.
Well, we have different guys here. And I like both those names. I mean, those are both names I talked about that I agreed with you on. Because I don't really know if I still fully trust Jaeger to close the door on a tournament. I do trust him to play really well here. I think if you look over the last 6 months, as weird as it sounds coming out of my mouth, if you look over the last 6 months, he's one of the better players in this field, like class of the field, which sounds really strange, but he's plus 130 on FanDuel. And then I'm going to go Keith Mitchell. I think I would say Mitchell is in the same boat. Now, he didn't play as well last year, but I think he's been coming around. We know he's a top-notch player. He's plus 160. So I like those two for locks. And I would say, right now, FanDuel is the only book that has these open that we're looking at. Let's definitely shop those. If the numbers aren't that much worse on BetMGM, for example, that would be a good time to have a different book. And you pivot a little bit and take BetMGM so they pay out full in the tie market. Now we take a bomb at 4-1 or longer. I got a couple choices here, Pat. I'm going to let you go and see if I can make a decision.
Well, I'm going to trust the form of my long shot that I talked about earlier, coming off the top 10 at the WM, and that's Novak is plus 450 as a top 20.
Okay. There's a guy in here that I haven't talked about yet that paid off for us nicely. I believe it was at the, let me check this. I believe it was at the RSM. Was it the Yes, it was. No, it was at the Bermuda.
Oh, man, I know where you're going.
You know where I'm going? And I like the Bermuda play. Finished 13th at Bermuda, past Palom, slow, coastal. Pretty sure he hits it far. But at the same time, my guy Norman Zhang is the same price. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back to our guy. He paid off at like 12-1 at the Bermuda. Fred Biondi, baby.
I knew that's where you're going. I would have stayed with the Panda. I think you go with the Panda.
I mean, I don't mind it. I'm going to go Fred Biondi, though, plus 550 as a tip of the cap for delivering a big bomb for us earlier in the season. Listen, good stuff. Mexico is going to be, the money still spends the same, people. I know it's not as exciting as Riv, but the money still spends the same. Enjoy the tournament. We're going to do the DFS show on Monday night, so you'll have to check that out. Regular content, regular scheduled programming this week. Thank you to all the folks, by the way, on Twitter and Discord that gave the Barnett family some love. It's been a challenging week, but we appreciate it. This is we just appreciate thoughts and prayers. So it's been good. Thanks everybody. Have a great week. Bend over your bookies. See ya.